I wrote the script before Endgame, so I didn't know what was going to happen at Endgame, so don't just put in the comics because I already know. I saw it. I was never a fan of Thor. Even though his first movie was one of my first MCU movies, I never really liked him. I felt he was the weakest part of the Avengers and Age of Ultron, and I found Dark World to be so dreadfully boring that I didn't even go to see Thor Ragnarok before Infinity War, because I didn't trust Marvel anymore with the franchise. But before Infinity War, I did watch some videos on Thor Ragnarok, so I knew what happened in it, so I felt confident enough in the information I received that I would be able to watch it with little to no issue. And I was right. Infinity War was great. I never missed a beat. But there was one scene that stood out to me. A scene that I think is the best in the whole movie. And the scene that made me like Thor. The scene I like to call, "What More Could I Lose?" So apparently there was an idea to get a bunch of video essayists together to make some Marvel videos on one marvelous scene in the whole MCU. I was not invited, so I'm going to Captain Marvel my way into this thing because it seems fun. So before I do a rundown of the scene, just a reminder, this is only the third time we see Thor within this movie, and it's been about 35 minutes or so since we last saw him. So the scene starts with some jokes that Thor can understand Groot because it was elective on Asgard, which is funny for a variety of reasons, and gives more character to Asgard than Thor ever did. Seriously, think about it. From the first Thor movie, would you know that they had a schooling system which was similar enough to our education system here on Earth that they would have electives for classes? No, I didn't think so. But I digress. Anyway, he starts with some light exposition on the planet with the giant Peter Dinklage. No, I'm not saying its name because I'm going to say it wrong, and that will tear up my tongue. But then transitions into reminiscing about his hammer, which obviously makes him a little sad, because, you know, they got wrecked in Thor Ragnarok, and is one of his last connections to his father. Rocket decides to comfort him a bit, showing his character grow from Guardians 2. He first tried to hit on the info that he knows by bringing up Loki being dead, which leads to a dead end in conversation, then tries on the topic of his sister and dad being dead, which leads to another dead end in conversation, then asks about his mom, which leads to yet another dead end, and then tries to do something less close, like a best friend, but still hit another dead end. Specifically, his best friend was stabbed to the heart, and you're to blame. You give love a bad name. I'm sorry, that joke has just been in my head ever since the movie came out. I just need to get it out of my system. But what's interesting about this interaction is that Thor is not willing to open up about how he feels, even though he is talking about people in his life that have died. It doesn't hide it well enough on his face, though. So Rocket, seeing how depressed Thor is, asks if he could even do what he set out to do. Thor responds with a convoluted yes that sounds like he's trying to convince himself more than Rocket than he could do it.
Absolutely. Rage and vengeance, anger, loss, regret, they're all tremendous motivators. They really clear the mind, so I'm good to go.
Yeah, but, I mean, this Thanos we're talking about, he's the toughest there is.
Well, he's never fought.
Then Thor goes on this great monologue.
You know, I'm 1,500 years old. I've killed twice as many enemies as that, and every one of them would have rather killed me, but none succeeded. I'm only alive because fate wants me alive. Thanos is just the latest in a long line of bastards, and he'll be the latest to feel my vengeance. Fate wills it so.
Mm-hmm. And what if you're wrong?
Well, if I'm wrong, then what more could I lose?
He's trying to keep his confident bravado that he carried through all of his appearances in the MCU so far, especially in Ragnarok. but the chinks in the armor are beginning to show. And after Rocket tries to make Thor doubt himself at least a little, he says one of my favorite lines in the whole MCU. What more do I have to lose? And he sheds a tear. This scene is great on the first watch through because it shows Thor at his most vulnerable, most human state in this whole franchise. Then it works on the rewatch and makes it even more sad because he did have something more to lose. And in his mind, it's probably mostly his fault. You can blame Quill all you want, but Thor was so up in his own ego that he didn't even go for the head. Thor has been an ego-driven character from day one, but we finally got to see what was under that, especially after the events of Thor Ragnarok. How this scene inadvertently makes Thor the Dark World seem a little better. This scene makes you really get into Thor's feels, and I can't wait to see more in Endgame later tonight. Hey guys, thank you for watching. If you're looking for more superhero content, click on the right. And if you're looking for what my channel is really about, which is mostly anime, look at my Season 2 playlist, which is everything I've made in the last year. I hope to see you again.